Hello, I'm Kendra.
I'm Olivia.
And I'm Lindsay.
And this is our Music Oddcast. Today we have a special guest. His name is Ben Carr, and he is the frontman of a local psychedelic band, Heaven's Gateway Drugs. And he's here to talk to us today about the conspiracy of the R.E.M.Countdown.
Hello.
Hello, Ben.
Hi, Ben. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this.
Filling us in on this thing that we could not find through any Google results.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It was weird.
It's a weird one to look up. And today's featured cocktail is Ben's favorite. We are drinking lime mojitos.
Yes.
With mint from Olivia's garden.
Yes.
They're very good.
They are. So tell us about your album that you just put out.
It's called Slab City. We're really excited about it. We recorded it off the cuff sound, and it's been done for a while, and we're excited that it is getting to see the light of day.
And had a really great album release show.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right. So R.E.M. was formed in Athens, Georgia in 1980. Frontman Michael Stipe met Peter Buck, who's the guitarist, in Wuxtree Records. I guess the two had similar taste in bands, and they were sort of not fighting over albums, but Stipe tended to buy the albums that Buck liked. I thought it was kind of cool.
I hate when that happens.
I know. Especially then, because sometimes there weren't a lot of albums in some of the stores that were smaller, and if you ordered one in, you never knew how long it was going to take for you to get it. Yeah.
Yep.
Michael had it.
Yeah.
Go home and download
Bastard.
it.
So the pair met roommates Mike Mills, who was the bass player, and Bill Berry, who drummer, through a mutual friend. While they were all students at the University of Georgia, they began practicing in a deconstructed church that Buck and Stipe actually lived in, I guess. And I saw some footage of the place, and I mean, there wasn't really a roof. I don't know how they lived in it. It was...
No, I think
It sounds like it needs an HGTV makeover.
Yeah.
Truly.
So were they like squatting?
Well, I believe they were, because they would do a lot of things. They broke into their school to just come up with album names, because they were just all about... They would write a bunch of names on a chalkboard. This is how they came up with their name. Like, in the morning when they were done, whatever wasn't erased or they thought was silly, they would just pick. So, like, R.E.M. to them means nothing. And all of their albums are just arbitrary words that weren't used before.
Yeah, some of the band names that were potential band names were Twisted Kites, Cans of Piss, Hornets Attack Victor Mature. I guess that, yeah.
Wait, Hornets Attack Victor Mature? Like all one word? Like that's all one?
That was all, all together.
That's...
To me it sounds
That was two separate ones.
Yeah, no, it's like, can you imagine though if it's like, yeah, I was listening to that song "Losing My Religion" by Hornets Attack Victor Mature.
Yeah,
it's like,
it rolls off the tongue.
It's like
Everybody
it's like,
hurts by cans of piss.
right? And this is definitely before there was bands like "And You Will Know Us" by the Trail of Dead. It's like definitely like not the long name thing.
Oh, and there was also Bingo Hand Job.
That's a great fucking name.
Yeah.
Yeah, they played one show as that.
Under that name.
Yeah.
Bingo Hand Job.
And it crawled from the south.
It's like, I just found out yesterday that my phone, every time, like, you know how your phone prompts you for what the word should be next?
Yeah.
Every time I was typing in surprise, it was like, blowjobs? And I was like, why? So my phone wants me to say surprise blowjobs a lot, apparently.
Weird.
Huh.
Fascinating fact. Okay, go on.
Band name.
That is a good band name.
So they played their first show on April 5th, 1980, opening for The Side Effects. And they played both originals and covers. I guess they had 10 songs ready for that first show. All four eventually dropped out of school after missing a significant amount of classes. And they had already become pretty successful locally and the area around Athens. So they began touring the South. In 81, they recorded their first single, Radio Free Europe. And it was released on Hiptone. That was before they, signed with IRS, which was actually the next. I think that was also in 81. Yeah. And that was when they recorded their first EP, which was called Chronic Town. They thought about signing with RCA, but I guess they didn't have the control that they would have had with IRS, so that's why they decided to go with them. Which is kind of interesting, because it was such a bigger label at the time. I think that they would have consider that, but I like what they did. Seems like throughout the career, they never really gave in to what labels or, even what people wanted to hear. They kind of did their own thing, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, they released 6 full length on IRS, which was an independent label.
The last one was Document,
Yeah.
right? So everything from Chronic Town to Document.
Yep.
Which, that's
which is insane, in amount before they signed with Warner and got complete control
And
artistically.
so much money.
Yeah, and so it was the biggest at the time.
So they were working with producer Mitch Easter, who also worked on their first single, Radio Free Europe, with them. They completed their first album, Murmur, in 1983, and Rolling Stone voted it Album of the Year, and seems like it was a hit with the critics. It didn't completely make it through on the radio, just the college radio stations, but still did pretty well. They worked again with Easter and his partner Dixon to record their follow-up recording in 1984. And
Reckoning.
I couldn't read my own writing.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
You
too,
still have nicer
so.
handwriting
Yeah,
than
I
I
really
do.
like that one.
Yeah,
Even just from the first song, I think it's just
so
a good
good.
one. So this album once again did well with the critics, but didn't sell as well as the label would have liked. Their third album, Fables of Reconstruction, was released in 1985, and they were working with producer Joe Boyd this time. It was a bad time for the band, I guess. There was really bad weather when they were recording, and they said that the gloomy feel made it through to the album.
Yeah, because they recorded it in Germany, and it was just a terror. Yeah, they, for some reason, that was what they wanted to do, and the weather was awful, and it was just really dark, and so it affected them mentally.
Seems like they picked a spot every time they recorded, not just for the studio, but they picked a destination, someplace that they wanted to go, and then kind of took the whole band there, which is really fun.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, let's take this trip. And
That sounds
stay
luxurious.
there for it. I know.
It's like, I want to go on a vacation and check out this forest, so let's go record there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially at
That's
that point
nice.
when they probably, weren't rolling in all the dough and everything.
No, they were
They're
not.
Just, no.
But that's cool. That's a good way to justify it.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah.
I really want to take a trip to this
Maybe not
place.
the most luxurious.
But there's a
Yeah,
recording
I don't feel
studio
like it
there.
was-
But yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So the singles didn't make it through to the radio, but it was their biggest hit so far with sales, which is nice.
And that was Fables of the Reconstruction?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is so weird to me because it just seems to be the least. It's the album that no one talks about. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does
the
have
one
a
song that
weird
a lot of people know is
feel.
Fall on Me.
That's from Life's Rich Pageant.
Ah, shit. Edit that
Next
out.
one.
Never.
So since you brought it up, that was what they began working on, Life's Rich Pageant, right after it. And they worked with Don, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I think it's Gaiman.
Sure.
Who worked with John Mellencamp. And this album did really well and finally started to give them their breakthrough to the mainstream charts. This album went gold. And I just did that noise.
we all realize that we do.
A lot. So the label released Dead Letter Office. It's a compilation of B-sides and unreleased songs. And they began working with Scott Litt on their fifth album,
That's a fun
Document.
last name.
Yeah.
It really is.
Every single one
also,
of these. There's
also
always
worked with
somebody
Pearl
with a-
Jam later on in his career.
Oh, okay. So this was their
Gives the
big...
death stare.
I know that you guys can't see what we're doing, but Ben is one of my best friends. And I am not a fan of Pearl Jam. And I'm not going to trash talk them on here or anything because they've done nothing to me. But basically, at any given chance to bring up Pearl Jam or a serenade or play a song or whatever, Ben tries to take that opportunity to, much to my chagrin.
Or just
So,
talk about facts, I feel like.
or, one time I maybe have assaulted him. I don't know. It's fine.
With a purse.
I have a love-hate relationship with them as well.
I kind of, I don't know. I wish that I liked them more because I think Eddie Vedder seems like a
Some
good
really
guy.
good songs.
Yeah.
Great voice.
I disagree about that.
I agree.
No. That's what
No,
drives me
when I
nuts
read,
about Pearl Jam is his voice.
When I read Carrie Brownstein's autobiography when she was talking about when Slater Kinney like toured with them and stuff. She like spent a lot of time talking about how awesome he was and like super supportive of women in music and like,
I've always heard that, right, and I don't disagree with that. He sounds like he's a really good dude. More. Yeah, but I just cannot stand listening to them.
Yeah,
I just can't do it.
It's okay.
So this album was a big breakthrough for them with the single One I Love, and End of the World was on this album as well.
That's a great song.
Yeah.
Lindsay can do that for karaoke.
We were talking about that. Did you guys ever have, like, I was in middle school, I think, when that came out. Did you guys and your friends try to memorize the whole song or anything like that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, well, obviously you lived it, but...
I did it. We just, when I, fell in love with them.
Yeah.
I was just sadly just alone and, not with friends, just alone. Learning that.
I remember after 9/11, the radios were asked not to play like this whole list of specific songs, and that song was on it. So I remember that the local alternative station was like, and today's the last day that we have to listen to that, so here you go. Here's all the songs that we have not been allowed to play for the past like couple months, and like they just played that song, like End of the World, like every other song. It was so great.
Also, at that time too, they didn't list their lyrics on their albums.
No,
I think,
that was like a
for
big
a long
thing.
time.
They didn't do it until.
So you had to like really listen to it much to memorize that. Yeah,
until a member left, because they always said they weren't like that was like a thing. They never printed the lyrics because that was like with their first album, Murmur. There's a lot of, even now, because when you listen to some of the songs, you can't really tell if he's saying anything because it's just murmuring and just tones. Because he would just get the music and ride around in a car and sing along to it and like mumble stuff. And I don't think that there's lyrics really for some of the songs. Some of them, yes, but not all.
Yeah. There's a song, I might be on that album or it might be on another one, where it sounds like he says something about pooping on Elvis.
Goofing on Elvis.
Yeah, goofing on Elvis.
Yeah. I couldn't tell when I was listening to it. Like, I don't think that's what he's saying. But.
Yeah, but no, the song "Shaking Through." Like, let's try to decipher those lyrics like off of the first.
Well, and Michael Stipe like always has a music stand and is reading things off of it
because he doesn't remember.
Lyrics. Yeah.
Snatch those. Like, they played a lot of early stuff at this show tonight. Snatch the lyric sheet, just like a ninja. Right. Like, I'm on a secret mission.
Kendra,
I must know these fucking words.
I have a really important question to ask you. It's kind of going back a little bit. It was when you were talking about the radio station, how they would just play that every other. Was it you that told me that like a long time ago, one of the local radio stations had a fuck up and they played Little Miss Can't Be Wrong by the Spin Doctors for like 6 hours straight?
Yes.
Okay, that was you.
Oh my God.
Did I imagine that?
I never really realized that I had the capacity to hate music until that moment. Okay, because like I remember like I would listen to the radio. I mean, I was a little kid and I'd listen to the radio before I'd go to bed, and it was like the countdown, and then they just like there was a glitch, and so the only song that they could play was Little Miss by Spin Doctors. And they played it for like hours, and I kept on checking back, and I was like punching my pillow and getting so pissed. It was like one of the worst nights of my life.
At least it was appropriate.
I was like, I'm pretty sure Kendra told me about this a long time ago, and I was like, am I making this up?
I forgot completely about that. No,
okay.
yeah.
I'm sorry to bring up the
No, it was traumatic. It was totally traumatic.
What station was it?
It was like 97.
Okay.
It was like the pop station.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, it was definitely like still in the 90s, and I just remember being so furious. Like I was like 8 years old, and like I'm like screaming into my pillow because I wanted to hear. I think I was like really wanting to hear something else. I can't remember what it was. I remember
anything.
Yeah, like did you guys ever do that? Like I remember like one time when I was really young, like I was always waiting to hear Belle Biv DeVoe on the radio station, and I only got to hear it like twice, and I was like, why do they never play that song anymore? But it was definitely like well past when that song came out.
Or you'll call and request something, and then you have to wait like 4 hours.
Yeah, I would do that, and then they play the fucking Spin Doctors, and I'd like lose my shit. Like I literally can't listen to that song without like remembering my inner 8-year-old like being furious.
I know what's gonna make Kendra almost as mad as Pearl Jam then.
We might top it.
You can't be wrong.
I remember like keeping a tape in my stereo because I love to make mixtapes for people, and you would have to wait for the songs on the radio, so I would always have it in there, and I would like come home from school and go up in my room and do stuff and try to like catch the songs that I liked. But But we had that really good one for a while. It was 96.3 The Edge.
Yeah, when it was still locally owned.
Yeah, and they would play like B-sides and all kinds of rare live performances, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
So I still have my tapes with some of those on there.
That's
one
awesome.
by Eddie
Rest
Vedder.
in peace.
I like
It's like singing a Neil Young song.
just going back to the Eddie Vedder thing. I remember, and this is the last thing I'll say about Pearl Jam, and then we just have to let it die. Otherwise, I'll talk about it this whole time, and it has nothing to do with R.E.M. When I knew that it was real hate was when I was watching that movie Into the Wild, and I didn't know.
You were in for a treat.
I didn't know that it was like Eddie Vedder and a fucking ukulele.
Yeah.
The entire soundtrack. No one told me. Of
Were
course.
you at the theater, hopefully?
No, I wasn't. I was at a
Okay.
friend's
That would've
house,
been
and I had like
I already paid
See
for
it in
this.
IMAX.
I was excited for this movie. I read the book, like all this stuff, and I was like, can't wait for it. And then like maybe like 20 minutes in, I was like, I need a fucking cigarette. Like I don't know why I'm so pissed right now. And then like I kept on like leaving, and I was like, I just don't think I can watch this. And they're like, why? And I'm like, I don't know what is bothering me, but there's something inside of me that's like mad right now. And they're like, it should be calming. It's like Eddie Vedder and a ukulele. And I was like, motherfucker.
Did you not recognize that voice?
Right.
Kendra?
I don't
Yeah,
know, but like the
sweet.
fact that I didn't know and I was like having that reaction means that I'm not lying about this shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to REM.
Yes.
Yes. So Document ended up selling 1 million copies, and they decided to leave IRS, their label, because of they thought that they failed them with overseas distribution. So they signed with the Warner Brothers, who gave them massive distribution and complete creative control. IRS
That's kind of rare for that time too, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like
There was-
them and... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I like them and Flaming Lips both got really good around that time. I don't know. I'm sure if we looked into it, like somebody was working for Warner Brothers. It was like, we really want
Yeah.
like, this stuff.
That's
And
awesome.
They were right because
Yeah.
those two bands are just really long careers and people are still into.
That, and they signed for, I couldn't find an exact amount or even really a narrowed down one, but it said between 8 and 25 million for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Just
awesome.
Huge. So IRS released another compilation called, it was like a best of,
Eponymous.
yes.
Yeah.
What was that?
Eponymous.
I'm glad you said that so I didn't have to, because I
Yeah.
probably would have butchered it.
I could like envision the word in my head, but I'm like, what is
I think that's around the time, I don't know if you guys remember this, but they had like an infomercial promoting that album or one of REM's
Really?
like best of. Yeah, because I remember it would play all the time, especially at night, because I would stay up and watch 120 minutes and a couple, I think that was when Liquid Television was on too.
That would
and
have
I
been probably
see-
the right
Yeah.
time.
So I'm pretty sure that was the one.
I don't know, look that up.
Yeah.
An infomercial for R.E.M.'s Eponymous.
Yeah, we should look that up after this.
So in 88, they released Green, their first album on Warner Brothers, and Orange Crush and Stand were the big singles from that. And it ended up selling 4 million copies. They took a little bit of a break, an extended break, because they'd spent 3 years touring after Green. And the summer of 1990, that was when they started. Oh, yeah, they recorded Out of Time, which, sorry, I'm like fucking up big time because I can't read my writing.
It's okay.
Which had Losing My Religion. And this one they added a lot of different instruments, so mandolin, organ, acoustic guitar. Oh, and I screwed up. That was actually released in 91. They started, okay, I think I did say that right. I said they
You said
started,
it right.
They started recording
in
in
90.
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
released.
you're good.
Okay. So this one went on to sell 4.2 million copies just in the US and 12 million worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah. And Losing My Religion was on heavy rotation on the radio
Yeah.
station.
Oh my God,
MTV,
never ending.
VH1.
Yeah, never ending.
I can't listen to that song.
I can't
to this
either.
day
I actually hate that
because-
song.
It took them
can.
a long
I can listen
time.
to it.
Yeah, I like it now. I
Yeah.
didn't ever try to listen to it, and they stopped playing it for a really long time because
They
were just
needed
so
to.
They overdid
tired of
it. Well, again,
So
with the being a
much.
frustrated child and remembering songs
Yeah.
that were overdone, like that was definitely like every time I turned on MTV, it was on.
I had to take a break
I
from
didn't
them
like
because of
R.E.M.
that.
for a long time
Yeah.
because of that song.
Yeah.
I just would. Yeah, I just was like,
And
no.
my mom liked that song. And so at that time, you're not like really, I mean,
It's
I
not
forgot
a
that,
bad
but-
song. I think it's really well done
Yeah.
and everything. Like I don't hate
And the
REM,
music
but I just
part's
like
really cool.
I just remember like getting bummed every time it came on. Like again.
I I don't know. I don't really remember REM existing until about like when Monster came out.
Okay.
So I was like pretty young, but like my dad had that album. He had some before that too, but that's like the one that I really remember.
I didn't know Michael Stipe was hair until
Oh yeah,
I know.
I was
Yeah, that was
researching
weird.
this.
Did
I
you-
thought he shaved his head.
yeah. He. I was watching
shaved his
their
head for
very
Monster.
first.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was when he did that.
I watched their very first TV performance where they're on Letterman doing Radio Free Europe, and he's like so painfully shy when they're talking when he's talking
You're
to
so
them
cute.
at the end. And yeah, he had like his beautiful curly hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Also funny about Michael Stipe, his talking voice is so different from his singing voice. You
Yeah.
don't see that too often.
Yeah.
But it's weird when you hear him talk because his voice is so low and he's real quiet.
yeah, he was so shy at their first, like, I don't know how many shows where he would have to be kneeling down behind the drummer facing away from the audience,
Yeah.
singing like in a just like position that was where he couldn't let anything in, and it's just so. Oh, yeah.
I've seen a couple bands
where
like
they,
that.
like turn away from the audience.
And then he had to invent like this stage persona. That's why he always, when he talks like on stage, he's like, the name of our band is R.E.M. We hope you like it. Like it's never like this fun. Like
Yeah.
it's always this direct, like that he's not gonna be himself.
I guess that's one way to do it. I always find it fascinating when there's bands though that like the frontman like can't engage with the audience.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's kind of fun. I mean,
It just
because it's
works.
like
It's just how they-
the only band I've ever seen do that was like this band called Asshole Parade. I don't know if he was just doing it for that show or if it was just like what he normally did, but like he did not turn around once, and he
Yeah.
was just like staring like at the bass drum the whole time. But it was a great show, so it didn't really matter.
Yes.
So their second single off that album was Shiny Happy People, which featured Kate Pearson from the B-52s, also from Athens.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with them.
Yeah, I really like them too.
So good.
They were nominated for 7 Grammys and ended up winning 3. 1 for Best Alternative Music Album, 1 for Best Short Form Video for Losing My Religion, and then also Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal, and that was for Losing My Religion also. After that, they did a series of small shows. They didn't do a big tour, and they did an MTV Unplugged. And that one featured the Atlanta Symphony
That's dope.
Orchestra. Yeah, which is pretty cool.
I always like it when bands collaborate with symphonies.
Yeah, same. Like,
It's just neat.
It's
Yeah.
always just
Sounds
it's
so
so great.
good.
Yeah, it sounds so makes everyone sound super epic.
In 91, they returned to the studio to record Automatic for the People. And they worked with John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin on string arrangements. And there's actually a really good documentary I found it on YouTube. And I'm trying to think if I wrote down the name. Let's see. Oh, yeah, it was called Automatic Unearthed. And it showed like what they were doing when recording, and
Oh, that's cool.
pretty
I'm gonna
cool.
look
Yeah,
it up.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
John
I was
Paul
just
Jones.
thinking
I know.
the same
Yeah.
thing.
Like I've only
Oh.
ever I watched like tour film and then the one that they had for Monster because
Yeah.
they were making the other album on the road. But
Yeah.
I didn't know there was. Yeah, that's cool.
So it was released in 92 and can't read once again. I guess okay, yeah. So it had the singles "Drive," "Man on the Moon," and "Everybody Hurts." Sold 15 million copies worldwide, and I guess they got I thought this was kind of cool. They got the title of the album from a local restaurant in Athens called Weaver D Soul Food. It was kind of the slogan, which I thought was kind of cool.
Weaver D.
Yeah, Weaver
Yeah.
D's.
'Cause,
Just making sure I heard that right.
Yeah.
the slogan was some like you want fries with that. It was like automatic.
Yeah.
Like exclamation points, and so they're just like automatic for the people.
Dealer for the people.
Cut that out.
I know. No, I know.
No, it's funny.
It just sounded.
No, it's
just
actually
like
really
it.
great.
It's okay. We don't need to do any promotion for that. I couldn't help.
Every city in America has that car guy.
Yeah.
They all do.
Yeah.
So in 94, they released Monster. It was a more slow-paced album. And that one, the sales weren't quite as big. They sold 9 million, which I mean, still huge. And the singles were What's the Frequency, Kenneth, And I could have written this wrong, but bong and blame.
Bang
Bang.
and blang.
Bang and blame. Yeah, I need to.
Bong and
Bong and
blang. Hey.
Sold.
So they toured for the first time in 6 years, and unfortunately, during that tour, Bill Berry suffered an aneurysm on stage in Switzerland.
That's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
On stage?
Yeah.
Holy shit, I did
That'd
not
be
know that.
Fucking frightening.
I don't know anything about R.E.M., so this is all
fully-
fascinating
and
to
fully
me.
recovered in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
In Switzerland, they have great neurosurgeons
Well, and
there.
he left,
Yeah.
and he was like told like that he couldn't do that anymore if
Yeah.
he wanted to like not have another one. So
That
he's
makes
just
sense.
a farmer in Athens now.
Yeah.
and they played a couple shows since then, but just like fun local ones at bowling alleys, which is so neat. Like,
How amazing would it be to be
yeah,
that?
just going bowling and then, oh, R.E.M. shows up.
That's awesome. But also, like, man, I can't even imagine.
I know.
That's insane. Like, it's going to take me a minute to wrap my brain
I don't know
around
how
that.
old he was at the time, but he seemed like he was still pretty young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
30s,
Yeah.
early 40s.
That's
maybe.
crazy.
Yeah.
To be so terrifying.
And during that tour, there were a couple other medical issues with
Yeah.
Michael Stipe had a hernia.
he did,
Right?
and then Mills had abdominal surgery as well.
Yeah. Everyone went down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were still recording.
And they were recording while on the road
Yeah.
and having all that happen.
They're
Yeah.
using 8-track recorders, and then they recorded from some of their performances, I believe. Oh yeah, 3 were made into a film called Road Movie.
Road movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that album that came from that road is one of their best. It's so
I was gonna
good.
say, yeah, New Adventures in Hi-Fi is my favorite
Incredible.
of their like major label output.
Okay.
It's absolute favorite.
So they re-signed with Warner Brothers in '96, and that was the big contract for. It says $80 million, but the band wouldn't confirm that was actually what they signed for. But it says that was the biggest at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they also did a thing where it was like R.E.M. is Barry, Buck, Mills, Stipe. It was always alphabetical and everything was always equal pay. Like nobody
is
got
cool.
any more. Yeah.
I feel like if you're
Smart
in a
to do
band, you
that.
should do that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, I don't know, if it's not at least like equal, then like the ego would destroy the band, right?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like it was the thing. Like he was, doing the singing and like performing, and he wrote a little bit later, but it was mainly the other guys like writing all of the music. Like, so yeah, it should just be even.
Yeah.
For sure.
Made sense.
Okay.
I'm all about like that though, like the even split for everything.
Yeah.
Like if it's
Yeah.
all local bands playing a show, and this goes out to everyone that's not from our city. If it's all locals, even split.
Yeah.
Drop the attitude. Even split. Doesn't matter who's bigger or whatever. Like,
Right.
and always help out the little guys that haven't had that many shows.
Yeah.
And then, regardless, always pay the touring band more.
Yeah.
No questions
Save
asked. It
any
doesn't
gas
matter if you
money.
brought everybody.
Yeah.
Like, don't be a dick. PSA. Over.
So they released New Adventures in Hi-Fi in '96. This one sold 5 million, and they said due to the decline of alternative music at the time, which it did.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Because it was kind of the post, like, Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
Yeah, things got weird for a while there.
Yeah, and that was when Bill quit the band.
Yeah.
So they carried on as a 3-piece and still recorded Up. They worked with Pat McCarthy and Nigel Goodrich to produce and brought in Barnett Martin from Screaming Trees and Joey Warnicker, who toured with Beck on drums.
And that was the first time they included lyrics in there.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah.
When Bill Berry left.
Day Sleeper was the big single off the album, one of my favorites.
It's great.
And that one sold 900,000 copies. It was a bad time for the band, very difficult. They were experimenting with a bunch of different stuff, and not a lot was working for them, it seems like, in the studio. They used some analog 70s drum machines and cowbells and keyboards to try to replace Bill.
That's got to be hard.
Yeah.
Like, how long were they together with him in the band?
That would have been 1999 when Up came out, and then they started in
97, I think, was
82.
Yeah.
up.
So yeah,
like
being
80
in
to
a
96,
being a unit
97.
for almost 20 years,
Yeah.
right.
and then like having one of those people leave. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, in my band, we've only been together for like 5 years, and we've already pretty much said like if one of us leaves, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, because it wouldn't feel right.
Yeah.
They said too that, they all made the decisions together. They would all, go around to everybody and make sure that things were cool before they did it, or, does this part sound okay? So they said it was weird not having that other person to go to. And, you know, just the morale of the band was down. They were really excited to record going into it. And, you know, they'd all picked San Francisco as the place to go. And then their spirits were pretty low after he left.
Yeah.
And it took twice as long as they originally planned to record. And partway through, they had to stop and do the Tibetan Freedom concert because they had already signed on to do that before. And they barely had time to rehearse with the drummer. I think they had 1 day to play with him.
Oh, man. That sounds like my first band.
So that was the show. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I remember hearing, I think it was on MTV News, but there were people that were struck by lightning. Well, they were holding onto a railing at the show, and the weather was so bad they were struck, the railing was struck by lightning, and they had to cancel that day.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like, just like bad luck bears. Like,
I know.
Bad news bears.
Like, brought it with them.
Following this band around.
Yep.
That's crazy.
The good thing was they crammed all the bands into, you know, that didn't get to play on Saturday into the Sunday schedule. Everybody had a shortened set, which kind of sucks, but then they still let everybody play, which was cool.
I hope the lightning strike survivors got free merch or something.
I know. Something, yeah.
You got struck by lightning and I didn't even get a shitty t-shirt.
I don't know if they lived.
Oh, wow.
Don't think anybody
Okay, now
died.
As I say, I feel really bad
there was
for
a
saying
woman
that.
that was hurt the worst, and I think that she pulled through, but I could be wrong.
Tight.
Yeah.
Now I'm not an asshole.
Scott lit.
So I think it was either they talked about it during the show, or maybe it even happened while they were in town to do that show. Tom York recorded one of R.E.M. songs, and then Michael Stipe went and played with our Radiohead and recorded one of their songs. Mm-hmm. Do you know what songs? Because I didn't know what songs.
I always read that like Leave had like a version that was that Radiohead was a part of.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
But
that.
so I don't know specifically that. Like, I just know that Radiohead, like, when they were dealing with Fame, he talked to Michael Stipe, and that he was Michael Stipe was inspiration for How to Disappear Completely from Kid A, because it became too much for like him, you know, just as a person, like all of the popularity when Radiohead blew up. So
yeah, I heard a little bit of the song that Tom York sang on one of the documentaries that I watched. It was really good. I just couldn't remember the name.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. So, let's see. Oh, and then they ended up scoring the film Man on the Moon about Andy Kaufman.
yeah.
And then in 2001, they went back into the studio to record their 12th album. And that's Reveal.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And they recorded it in Canada and Ireland. So Joey Warnaker filled in on drums. Sorry. I think it was just on tour. I didn't write that down, but I think just when they toured for the album. I don't think he played on the album.
Still tried to do like drum machines,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So that one ended up selling about 4 million globally, and they said it was their most beautiful album.
Yeah, it's a pretty beautiful record.
Yeah.
It was.
So Warner Brothers released a compilation album and DVD called In Time, Best of R.E.M., and it was between 88 and 2003, and then In View, also between 88 and 2003.
I remember when this came out, yeah.
Yeah. They released Around the Sun in 2004, and the big single was Leaving New York. And Bill Rieflin from Ministry, I loved Ministry back in the day, I don't know if you guys get into him, and Pigface became their full-time touring drummer. Okay, so maybe that was what I was talking about. And looks like in 2006 they were nominated to be included into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the ceremony actually took place in 2007. And guess who inducted them?
Who?
Eddie Vedder.
God damn it!
Pearl Jam for the win, am I right?
Motherfucker.
it all
comes
came
back
back.
around. Yep.
It's all coming up,
There
Pearl
was a reason
Jam.
that we talked about Eddie Vedder
It
for
was
so long.
so good.
Zing. Damn the man.
But Bill came back and played for the show with them, which was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And yeah, they began working on their 14th album, Accelerate, which was released in 2008. They worked with, his name was Jackknife Lee.
Please tell me that's his real fucking name.
I hope so.
Is that a punk rock name?
Yeah.
Like, as I say, because like what profession would that guy have?
I
He's a
know.
Jack,
super-
no, like I don't need to know what he actually does. I need to know like what would he do, like in my fantasy world, because I daydream all the time. So like let me think, jackknife, like that's even too cheesy for fucking books that I read, and I read fucking wizard books and weird stuff. I don't know. I feel like he should be a mechanic,
He's really,
Yeah.
like
see
jackknife,
that.
and like but like maybe like has a pompadour and like some shitty jeans,
Yeah.
like a permanent grease stain on his hands, and
Wears like white t-shirts. with
Yeah.
sleeves rolled up.
totally smokes Marlboros.
Yeah.
Tight. All right, go on. I've got my mental image now. Probably looks nothing
no
like
offense to
him.
Jackknife Lee.
And I'm sure he's a great dude. I'm just like, your name's funny. I don't care. You'll never hear this. Ha.
They released a live album in 2009 called Live at the Olympia. And okay, they released their 15th album, Collapse Into Now, in 2011, and that was when they finally fulfilled their contract with Warner Brothers, and then announced on September 21st, 2011 that they were calling it a day as a band. They still release songs that they've been working on without a label, a compilation called Part Lies, Part Truth, Part Garbage. And that's it.
All right.
Entire career
Yeah.
of R.E.M.
Yeah.
I did
It's over.
write down that I didn't find a good place to include it, but Peter Buck lived next door to Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love in
Oh, I didn't
Seattle.
know that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then I know we talked about this, but Stipe almost collaborated with him shortly before Kurt's death, but it didn't end up working out.
Well,
And I think Michael Stipe is Francis Bean's godfather, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And they had a song on Monster that was it's called "Let Me In," and Courtney gave I think he gave it to Michael Stipe, but like gave it to like Peter Buck, the guitarist, to like play, and it was the one that he was working on when he died. So that
Okay.
guitar, and it's just a bunch. The whole song is just very guitar driven, and it's Kurt Cobain's guitar, and it's all about
right, I had heard
letting someone in.
Yeah.
Wow.
And because he mentioned R.E.M., Kurt Cobain, in his suicide, like letter
Yeah.
about how he said R.E.M. handled fame like saints, and that he always looked up to them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ben, tell us about this conspiracy.
Okay. So it's it's something the band denied. It's something that doesn't always it's not like there are like holes in it, but the countdown comes weirdly to fruition. Fans started noticing that there were numbers, just a lot of them, and R.E.M. was known for being kind of mythical almost, in the sense of they wanted stories attached to songs. They wanted stuff to be up to your own interpretation.
Yeah. Because I think I remember even hearing that Michael Stipe, he was really into legends and folklore and
Yeah.
tried to bring that into
Yep.
his songs.
Yeah, and so they did that with everything, album art, liner notes, lyrics, and so then fans started following suit and trying to see, as you do, if the band is trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
And so it starts with their first EP, Chronic Town. There's a song called 10,000 Wolves, and taken alone doesn't really mean much, but as the albums continue on, there is a pattern. And like I said, it does break several times, but then oddly comes to fruition. Their first full-length album, Murmur, has a song called 9 to 9, and all of these things that are printed, there's weird stuff all the way through. If they're on the outside of the album art, they're numerical, but inside they're spelled out.
And Ben has brought several R.E.M. LPs here.
I did.
And we will take pictures and put them on our Instagram
Yeah.
so you
Yes.
guys can see what we're talking about.
Especially since you can't find much about this online.
You can't.
you cannot.
We ran into trouble finding some stuff because everyone looked it up, and could not find anything that I was talking about.
Yeah,
So
we
what-
know nothing about this.
So what Ben had to do is he talked to me about this conspiracy and explained everything. And then I went and Googled it again right after he told me. And the very first thing that came up was like a message board thread kind of describing all of these instances. But it was still very, there was
It's
still
because
a
your
lot to
smartphone was
be-
listening to you.
Exactly. I know.
So
My phone was listening. But yeah,
always
it was
psychs me
still
out.
it was
I know.
still a little vague and was missing a lot of details. So that's the most that I could find.
Yeah, that was like the most that I found currently.
Now, how did you first hear about
my
it?
uncle like told me about it, and because he was the one that like turned me on to R.E.M. and he like kind of walked me through it, and then I just always like remembered that because, yeah, he was super into R.E.M. and I had never heard anything, and like by the time that I even heard about R.E.M., like Monster was already released, so
Right.
like I got to like sit and like sift through like all of this history, like all of these great records, like at once, and it was
That's really cool that he knew all that.
Yeah.
Because I grew up around, REM fans, like my dad and my uncle, but I don't think they ever knew anything like that.
yeah, but
So-
it's not, it is also just like a fun theory that the
Yeah.
band did acknowledge and say, because like at the beginning when they were talking about it, they like separate. They said that if person left the band, that REM was over as they knew it, and like so that continues on after like you have Murmurs 9 to 9, like the next like album, and this is where like stuff gets weird because you have 7 Chinese Brothers
Yeah.
off of this, but then you have like a Driver 8 like right like within, because they were recorded within like the same year, these
Okay,
two.
so Reckoning with the 7 Chinese Brothers, that's before.
Right, but then it goes
8,
Driver
so it's
8.
kind of
So
out
it
of-
does, but and then this is the one where there was always a battle of what was it called, because it's because if you take this away and like this away, they meant for it to be like not. So it's reconstruction.
So
of
explain
the,
what would be taken away.
like
Oh,
just
yes,
like
since they can't see
barcodes, like
Okay.
things that are like so this is like the front, or is this the front, because this kind of
Yeah.
looks like the back. People call it Fables of the Reconstruction, but people would argue that looks like the front cover.
Yeah.
So it's reconstruction of the Fables of the, and it
Oh,
continues.
yeah, because the back is where it has the band
really
name and
cool.
everything.
Right.
And the front
And
doesn't. Yeah,
so
that looks
they-
more like the
What year
Yeah.
did that one come out?
This one was 85.
85.
Totally has like a Sandman vibe to
Yeah.
it.
And this was
Like
the
the comic
Germany
books.
one.
Yeah.
Like those Neil Gaiman comic books.
Yeah, and
And all
this-
of the art is kind of like that in some of the pages from the printings that I have, at least.
Oh, never mind. It does have the name on the front, but it's not as
No, it doesn't look like.
it's not as prominent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's but that
And yeah,
looks
we'll
like
post
the back.
pictures of these.
Yeah, so that way you can hear us talking about this and know what the fuck we're talking about.
The weirdest one for me is the Life's Rich pageant. It's the one where on the front it has a picture of Bill Berry
And his eyebrows.
His eyebrows definitely prominent. But then buffaloes below, and the whole idea was just a joke of Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
But
Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
inside
Sorry.
the liner notes, well, also on the back, like all of like everything is out of order. All the numbers are out of like they don't line up with what is over. Like there's lyrics correspond to, and you're supposed to match them, and like they're always playing with people. But in the liner notes, after just talking about back cover painting by Juanita Rogers, who packages it, there's just the word 7 for no apparent reason.
Yeah,
like
the
you
very,
just
very bottom.
don't know.
Really small after some of these credits.
And then there's lyrics that follow
Yeah.
it, but there's no rhyme or reason that there is the word 7.
very bottom.
So that's when people started trying to figure, like, they're like, wait, this started with 10, and like there was like
Yeah.
an 8, there was like
That's weird.
yeah. So then
So we already had 7 with Reckoning.
Right.
And there's
So
just
it-
another one showing up a couple albums
So-
later.
Yeah.
And then
And
what's 6?
So that's the thing. They like don't have a 6, but there's 2 7s, but then they release Document, and it's just called Document, but it's actually Document number 5. Like that's like this one's big number, and this is the one that has the superimposed like his original car and house on the front, which you don't necessarily notice.
Yeah.
But so that's when it starts getting like back weirdly in an order. Green, it was next, and this was their major label debut. And
This is the one that has the 4 on the cover.
so this was the one. This isn't an original release of the vinyl. It had, Michael Stipe said, the reason that there was a superimposed 4 on the front was because, like, on a keyboard, the 4 and the E are right next to each other, and they hit it accidentally. They are.
And just kept it that way.
And so he just liked the look. That's what he said. But for some reason, even on later, like, pressings, there's a sticker on the back that just has the 4. That, like, it was, like, why would, what? I mean, I know it's a countdown and there's 35 here, but...
That's interesting. Like, do you think that, like, so they knew about people's, like, fan theories with it already, so were they, like, just, like, playing into that at that point?
See, they never ever
Yeah, like when did they start putting
admitted
stickers on there?
it. Like, they never really talked about that. I don't have Out of Time, which would have been the next.
3.
Yeah.
Is that on there somewhere?
It is, but...
Is it hidden in the cover? Or?
I honestly would have
Don't
to...
know.
I need to buy it online. But, yeah, so this, when we do skip one, because I know there's tons of numbers, that one. But then it comes to the...
So,
Whether-
Automatic for the People.
Automatic for the People that has New Orleans Instrumental number 1. And so if the countdown was to come to fruition, like, it would have to end with the next album, which was R.E.M.'s Monster. And there was a lot of weird stuff within this, but on the vinyl release only, there's just that on the back.
A big 0.
A big 0.
Yeah.
And that is the tour that Bill Berry had a brain aneurysm and left and had to quit. So subsequently, like, it comes to fruition on a weird level. They had one more album that included him, but it was a road album. It wasn't a studio. This is the last studio album with Bill Berry as drummer.
I mean, and they didn't really replace him for...
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't really ever. They never replaced him as a member. They just replaced the road drummer and then that, and then they were
But
done.
the original thing that so it's the countdown to when somebody leaves, and that's when they have to break up. But
Right.
obviously they had a lot of albums after
Right,
that.
they continued.
So,
They continued for sure, but R.E.M., as everyone knew
four-piece,
it,
yeah.
the 4-piece, it did.
Yeah, I was
end.
gonna say, I guess-
it did stop.
That's so weird.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And I guess
Yeah.
all those later albums are not really, what people think about when they think like quintessential
No,
R.E.M.
there's-
So
Up was really interesting, but once
Yeah.
again, that was the first time they changed their they did something because there was never any lyrics in any of them until Up, and that was when it all changed.
Okay, you might have said this already. Was there a 6?
No, there was 2 7s.
Yeah,
sevens.
there was
Okay,
2 sevens.
all right, okay,
Yeah,
I couldn't remember.
And then and that's what I mean. Like
Okay,
the
that's right,
math
yes,
does
that's
get
what
definitely odd, and then you don't include like. But yeah, I mean, it's all just it's a fun theory, but it's weird
Right.
that it did end, and especially with the where it's so close to 10, 9, 8, 7, 7.
And it also seems like after it hit 0, then it wasn't the brain aneurysm was also the worst of it, but it seems like they were just kind of plagued by bad luck after that.
And they didn't do any there was no messaging, all of the album art, almost fun aspect of them as a band kind of disappeared. It was all just
You're just carrying
a little bit more bleak.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just the album art was just a photo that Michael Stipe took. It was a fun photo, but it was just and there's no number, no fun things.
yeah, and I feel like with Monster, to me that album is very kind of guitar heavy and energetic and everything, and it's well, then this is the end.
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah, it really was. It was so
Yeah.
weird. They ended they played that "Let Me In," the Kurt Cobain song. Then there's 2 really odd sounding R.E.M. songs that just don't make sense to the rest of their career. And then that's it. But I mean, granted, New Adventures in Hi-Fi was a great record that came out right after it.
Yeah,
But-
and that's the one that I remember the most vividly when it came
Yeah, oh,
out
yeah,
because
that's one of my favorites.
My dad would play it every Saturday morning. I would wake up to the Wake Up Bomb playing downstairs. No, not that song.
I just wanted to do that.
I know. yeah, the song.
If you guys did that the whole time, I would totally end up punching you.
You know what? This song "Leave" on New Adventures in Hi-Fi. It's like a 7-minute song. It has this really long, really slow intro, and then when the drums kick in, it's just like this siren going over and over throughout the entire song. And it should be really annoying,
on paper.
but it's amazing. It's incredible. It's amazing.
See, I haven't heard the song, but all I've heard is
play it on
these
the way
two for
home.
the past couple days going wee 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 wee, and I'm just like.
It's like just
Apparently-
any better. There's no.
I feel like this episode, I'm just like realizing like how aggro I get.
I know you've got a lot of like musical
Rage.
yeah.
Like that's why I stick to punk rock, you know?
And I was gonna say, and it's very like for you, it's things that are considered pretty like inoffensive. Like who gets upset about the Spin Doctors?
I know.
I mean,
well, anyone
5 hours.
any song for 5 hours.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
okay,
get
okay,
upset.
all right.
Even if
But
I
When you really
like
wanted to hear the number one song, whatever the hell that was, and it was always the fucking Spin Doctors.
What year was it?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it was like probably when I was like in 2nd or 3rd grade. I mean, I was young.
93, 4.
93. That would have been like 10. Probably would have been coming out right then.
No, that was like 91.
It was.
Yeah.
I was born in 86, so I don't math. It's fine.
I don't mind.
Except when it comes to R.E.M.
Yeah,
conspiracies.
that's the only time. And that's always.
But the math is kind of fucked because there's 2 7s and no 6.
But it is kind of. Yeah, it's not like a But yeah, I
It
always
almost makes it better.
I know.
I think that because it throws you off a little bit because
It
then you're
does,
thinking like,
and then
well,
they
maybe
come
not.
back.
Yeah.
So today we're going to end our episode with a song from the new Heaven's Gateway Drugs album. Do you have any preference of which one you would want us to play? What's your favorite song on the album?
I honestly, I love Thoughts and Prayers.
Thoughts and Prayers?
Yeah.
Is that what you want us to play out?
Yeah, would love it.
Awesome.
I also wanted to mention I found this really good podcast while doing research called Song Exploder, and they take one song from an artist and they completely break it down and talk about everything that went into recording, and they have
that
some
sounds
really
interesting.
good stuff. Yeah, and they they talked about "Try Not to Breathe" by R.E.M.
Yeah.
So definitely
Such a
check
good
out
song.
this podcast. It's called Song Exploder.
I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for listening to our music oddcast. And this is Thoughts and Prayers by Heaven's Gateway Drugs.
President hates the truth. He's totally unglued. He'll start a war because he can and kill off all our troops beyond a fool. He'll send his thoughts and prayers to you. mothers, deadbeat dads, thoughts and prayers for you. The killing of the middle class, thoughts and prayers for you. Rising levels, greenhouse gas, thoughts and prayers for you. Extinction rates are jumping fast, thoughts and prayers for you. Never-ending student loans, thoughts and prayers for you. You're underwater on your own, thoughts and prayers for you. Same-sex couples who want a kid, thoughts and prayers for you. Express your love, just keep it hid, thoughts and prayers for you. Profile cause of your dark skin, thoughts and prayers for you. Rounding up your next of kin, thoughts and prayers for you. You like to breathe the nice clean air, thoughts and prayers for you. Corporations, they don't care, thoughts and prayers for you. Young black men shot by cops, thoughts and prayers for you. Fear for the lives at traffic stops, thoughts and prayers to you. To women who don't give consent, thoughts and prayers to you. Some men are twisted miscreants,